It's the return of N'Golo Kante to the side. Unfortunately, Chelsea lose 2-1 to Liverpool. Let's get into it.
And blue is the colour. Essien! Drogba! Lampard! That could be the championship!
Greetings! Welcome back to Couch Critic. Dennis P. sat here on my couch once again musing Chelsea Football Club. Now before I get into that Chelsea-Liverpool review, could you please do me a big favor and hit that like button, that subscribe button, and that bell notification button to keep up with the latest and the newest. Now Chelsea played host to Liverpool up at Stamford Bridge on Sunday and unfortunately emerged 2-1 losers to the Scouse. Goal scorers Trent Alexander-Arnold, beautifully taken set piece, followed up by Firmino from another set piece, open header, and Chelsea were able to peg one back in the second half, courtesy of N'Golo Kante, who returned to the side in fantastic form. Now for this particular match review, I'm going to be focusing on a couple different things. I'm going to start with Chelsea's injuries that seem to be piling up at an alarming rate, and whether or not there's some sort of a correlation between training methods and fixture congestion that is leading to some of these little niggly injuries that we seem to be picking up. I'm also going to go into set pieces, zonal marking versus man marking, and whether or not there is a better method that we can be looking at in terms of defending and attacking set pieces. And then I'm going to go into what I believe is Chelsea's preferred starting 11 should some of these injuries start to subside, and what kind of shape that we're going to take on as we move forward in the season. Now the spirit of the squad and the supporters alike were given a huge boost when the team sheet was read out and we saw the return of Emerson to left back, N'Golo Kante in the midfield, and of course after having taken a heavy knock in midweek we saw Mason Mount return to the starting 11 as well. Now I have to say I was most surprised to see Mason Mount return to the starting 11 after having seen that knock that he took in the midweek in the Champions League. It looked severe, and I was surprised to see that he was able to recover so quickly in order to make the starting 11. Less surprised to see N'Golo Kante return to the starting 11. He seemed to be inching closer to fitness over the last few weeks, and wasn't really quite sure what the injury was to begin with. I'm assuming it was a carryover from last season, at the end of the season when he hadn't really fully recovered from that yet. But knowing who he is as an individual, you knew that it wasn't going to be long before he made it back into the starting 11 and make an impact as well. For Emerson, it is a worst case scenario, unfortunately, having to come off 10 minutes into the match after being declared match fit and reinserted into the starting 11. Begs questions whether or not he's rushed back to deal with the potential threat of Mane and Salah on the flanks, and may not have been 100%, but risked it just because it was an important match. Now, unfortunately for Emerson, and also for the squad for that matter, he's going to have to spend more time on the treatment table at a time of year where the fixtures are coming thick and fast, and there isn't more than like 2 or 3 days in between matches. I don't expect to see him back anytime soon, especially with a re-aggravation of the same injury. You'd expect the training staff to take more precautions with him now going forward. So I'd expect to see him out with anywhere between 3 to 4 weeks. And with the fixture congestion, which we seem to be in the midst of right now, there's a real worry that we're gonna have to overuse Alonso at the left back spot because we just don't have anyone else fit and we don't have an alternative at the club currently. Couple that with the loss of Christensen, who makes it very easy to play with 3 at the back with his ball playing ability in the sweeper role. And you start to see that Frank has a few more problems than one may have envisioned at the beginning of the season. I mean, not only has he lost the rotational flexibility of his defenders with the loss of Rudiger, Christensen, and Emerson once again, but he's also lost the tactical flexibility that he's exhibited at the beginning parts of the season with the inability to effectively play 3 at the back now. Now, clearly the early injuries had a negative impact on Frank's overall game plan as we were unable to make tactical switches to inject energy into the game. And as a result, Liverpool were never really coaxed out of second gear the entire match. Though Chelsea grew in the match and got better, their inability to make subs for ineffective players proved costly in the end. Well, that and Chelsea's abysmal set-piece defending. I mean, I have no issues with Alexander-Arnold's first goal. It was well-crafted and beautifully taken, hit with power and pace. No keeper stopping that. I do have a bone of contention with the second one, though. I mean, a set-piece where everyone is back defending inside the 18-yard box. How in the world does Firmino find so much space and have nobody lay a glove on him to get an open header for the second goal? It's just inexcusable. And this is where the debate will wage on. What is better? Is it better to zonally mark or is it better to man mark? What are the benefits from zonal marking? What are the benefits from man marking? And we can get into that. For me, man marking is as simple as this. It's mano a mano, me versus you, beat your opponent to a spot, and win the header. It just basically comes down to who wants it more, who times it best. Zonal marking is a little different. Instead of attacking the man, you're attacking the ball when it comes into an area you were responsible for. And the skill set you use is slightly different as well. It's not so much physical as much as it is you're judging the flight of the ball. You're using your ability to judge the flight of the ball, as well as the timing of when you need to make the move to basically meet it in the air at the opportune moment. It has its advantages and its disadvantages, obviously. One of the advantages is if you're zonally marking, it makes it very hard for teams to, block and pick you and give somebody an open header. Whereas in man marking, that's a lot more easy to do when, you're running off of a screen or whatever and come and you get an open header. Like I've seen, there's one example against Liverpool when Callis was playing with Chelsea, and he basically ran off of a pick and got an open header in the first half of that Liverpool game before Steven Gerrard slipped. And, unfortunately it didn't go in, but that's a perfect example of a guy that got picked. And as a result, like, Callis got an open header and almost scored, should have scored. I wonder what would happen to his career if he would have scored that goal, because that would have been a massive goal and maybe would have been the kickstart of his career. But anyways, I digress. The thing I don't like about zonal marking is if your awareness and timing is like even slightly off, you will get exposed. And that's what we saw at the weekend. Essentially, Alonso was a little late in judging the flight of the ball and a little late in initiating his movement to get to the ball, to make contact with it. And, the ball perfectly delivered again by Alexander-Arnold, found the head of Firmino, and he had a wide open header without even having anyone contest it. And that's basically down to the fact that, like, we're marking spaces and trying to attack the ball. And when you're late trying to attack the ball, you often do get exposed. What I'd like to see going forward, and perhaps you're already doing this and I'm just unaware of it, if you feel that is the case, just leave a comment in the comment section and we can discuss it there. But what I'd like to see going forward is maybe a hybrid between man marking and zonal marking, where we man mark the key targets, the Van Dijk, Matip, Firmino, who scored on Sunday, and we zonally mark the areas where we feel we are most vulnerable. And the reason why I want to see this is because I feel like it's important to get touch tight on guys that are very good in the air, either to like throw off their balance or to, basically body up on them or beat them to the spot in general. Once you give them the opportunity to run at the ball and from a running start, and we're in a standing position, then you're always going to give the advantage to the attacker. And we saw that again at the weekend. Like, Firmino had an open header, he's coming onto the ball. Marcus Alonso's reacting to the flight of the ball and not able to get there in time. Had he been touch tight to him, who knows, even if he would have misjudged the timing of the ball, he would have been able to to at least body him and at least push him off, and that might have led to, a different scenario where maybe we stop, maybe we save it, or maybe, he puts it wide. But all of this becomes extremely difficult to judge when you do not have a full complement of players at your disposal. I mean, this has been the case all year long. Chelsea have been banged up and missing key players in all sorts of positions, whether it be in the midfield, in defense, and on the flank. So it's very difficult to really ascertain what is working versus what isn't when you don't have a full squad to choose from. What Frank wants to establish at this point in the season, especially with the fixtures coming thick and fast as they are, is you would like to have a preferred 11. This is the 11 that I play when we have a big match against a big opponent, and this is the preferred 11 that I'd like to use in cups. And that becomes very difficult to do, and at the same time, it's very hard to ascertain what's working when you don't have that. I would love to hear from you guys what you think our strongest 11 should be, and also what you think our preferred shape in big matches should be. I know for me, I'm kind of leaning towards the 4-3-3 with Emerson at left back, Fikayo Tomori at left center back, partnered with Rudiger at right center back, and Azpilicueta at right back. I do understand that Reece James is close to full fitness and will be playing on Wednesday. I just don't know what he looks like in the Premier League or in this setup for this matter. So I'm going to reserve my judgment on him until I see him back return into the side and see what he has then. Of course, he is definitely one that I'm keeping my eye on. I'm very optimistic about what he can do there. In the midfield, I'm definitely looking at a midfield three of Conte, Jorginho, and Ruben Loftus-Cheek. It'd be harsh not to drop Kovacic at this point in time because he has been brilliant. He looked fantastic yesterday, and he has been good. But I just feel like what we get from Ruben Loftus-Cheek in the goal scoring aspects, where we need more goals in the midfield, I think he can provide that. I think that he has the right sort of pace and power that we need in the midfield, and it's just a perfect complement when you look at Jorginho and Conte. I think that that is the perfectly balanced midfield three. Going forward, I would love to see Mason Mount continue on the left flank. I think he's been brilliant there. I do believe that his best role is probably somewhere 8 or 10, and playing him out in the 7 is probably not his most ideal role, but he's been brilliant there, and the shape seems to be our most attacking shape. Obviously, Tammy Abraham, who's been banging them in for fun, unfortunate not to score on Sunday, but I would keep him at center forward. And when we get to full fitness, I would love to see Callum Hudson-Odoi, newly signed Callum Hudson-Odoi. Blow! Big up Callum Hudson-Odoi for signing that contract and staying at Chelsea for another 5 years. I would love to see him get a chance at the right flank and maybe have Willian deputize him. That's what I think. What do you guys think? What would you like to see going forward? Obviously, I did see the three at the back work very effectively with Christensen in the libero role and him being flanked by Fikayo Tomori and Rudiger. That looked fantastic, but I just don't know if we're as attacking as I'd like to see us in that particular formation. But let me know what you guys think. I am going to wrap it up there though. Chelsea, unfortunate not to get something out of that match. Just felt Lady Luck was not on our side for this one. We lost 2 of our 4 defenders in the first half to injury. And then we have a goal disallowed by VAR. And, you know, the sucker punch, like right after that move, Liverpool come down and get the second and effectively kill the match from there. We did have our chances, just didn't take them, and that was mainly down to, you know, a lot of like inexperience in the squad. I mean, Tammy Abraham was in alone on the keeper and put it right into him when he could have squared it to Mount for a tap in. These are the types of things that, you know, are the growing pains of a young squad though. And what separate teams that are competing for the top honors like the Liverpool and Man City. 8-0? Come on, dog. 8-0? Like, you guys don't, no mercy rule there? Come on, son. 8-0? Anyhow, that's what separates them from teams like us who are still trying to find their identity and trying to find how they want to play in this league. So, you know, just taking opportunities and being a little bit more clinical when these opportunities are presented to yourself. But we move on from there. We got Grimsby in the cup next, and that is supposed to mark the return of Callum Hudson-Odoi for signing that contract. Big up Callum for signing the contract and staying with Chelsea for 5 more years. And I'm excited about seeing him back into the side. And also, Reece James is supposed to also make an appearance, and hopefully he can come in and give some sort of like competition to that right wing back spot, that right full back spot. I feel like Azpilicueta played well yesterday, but he will do well with some competition. He could use some at this point, and hopefully Reece James is the guy that can give it to him. But we move on. We got a run of games where I feel the next 6 we should be able to get something out of most of them. So I'm looking for Chelsea to get 15 out of 18, starting with Brighton Hove Albion on the weekend. And we move on from there. For those of you that made it down to the Fox on John on Sunday, it was a great atmosphere. For the people that live in Toronto and weren't able to make it there, we had a great crowd out. The staff there is incredible. I was able to win a kit. You know, I won the Chelsea third kit, courtesy of a few friends of mine who gave me their tickets after having left. So now, big up to my boy Eric Chamez. And I can't remember where I got the 3rd ticket from. Maybe it was Alistair. Alistair, thank you very much. It came to my benefit. I walked away with the kit. And as I was saying, it was a great atmosphere. If you're looking for somewhere to go watch the game and with some good supporters, good atmosphere, make your way down to the Fox on John, which is at 106 John Street in Toronto, Ontario. And we're always there, always a great atmosphere. So, you know, come out and support the club, support the team, and, you know, have a good time. But until then, up the Chelsea and keep the blue flag flying high. Peace.